All right, everybody hear me? I know some of you guys are double dipping today on a little basketball fun and a little football press conference. Hopefully we accommodated the best you can. Appreciate everybody understanding I was trying to make it best for you. So from us, obviously, we actually got a little lucky today. Got our work in this morning before the rain hit, so we're able to get a normal Thursday practice out in the stadium and continue to, I think, make a couple I just think we're practicing better. What I see during the week leads me to believe good things can happen on Saturday. So I'm excited about that. A couple of injury updates. Don't have anything finalized on both Spoon or Jake, but I think moving in the right direction. There's a doctor's appointment today, later today. They give the final clearance. Last week we thought we were going to be all right, but they got pulled back. Obviously, their decisions. The doctor's got to have those moments, right? But we'll see exactly where we are tonight. Hopefully, have that information going in tomorrow for our walkthroughs and the things we got tomorrow. But otherwise, other than those two, everybody's been back at it. Shouldn't have anybody restricted in any capacity going into the weekend from last weekend. So don't know who we're going to exactly face, on offense. I know they've got a couple of guys that are, whether they're questionable or in or out, but I think the part that we know about playing against their offense, Wisconsin's offense, is what it is. Paul does a great job of scheming up with his staff offensively. They give you some new wrinkles every week. We got to be ready for a very talented group, run the football, take great shots down the field, have some very talented receivers defensively. I think they obviously are number one against the rush for a reason. They're very good, but on the edge too, defensively at the corner position, the safety position, very talented, very tough to move the football in any capacity. So we got our work cut out for us. Special teams are going to be huge in the field position game, and excited, obviously, bigger picture wise, to be a homecoming game. I've been impressed every game with our student section. Our student section, again, sold out, has led the way in so many different ways. They've got all of their seats sold for Saturday. Can't be more excited when our youth in the stadium, when the students are in that capacity. It's just a great indication of where we're headed. So a lot of positives leading into the game, and see where we can go Saturday. With that, open it up for some questions.
Hey, Bret, I think one of your years as defensive coordinator, you had Jim Leonard on your team. I guess, did you get a chance? Did you think like, hey, this guy might be a coach one day, or he's obviously pretty well regarded. What makes him so good at what he does? Yeah,
100%. I remember one of my first meetings with Coach Alvarez when he was beginning to talk to me about the defensive coordinator position. We were talking about personnel, and he said, hey, if you get 18, which is Jimmy's number, he said, if you get him, you got everybody. So literally my first day in the building, the first guy I called and got an appointment set up to come to my office with Jimmy Leonard. And I went through our base defense and showed him a play that would be a play that featured him in a blitz. And then I also showed him a base call that would stress him, right? So I showed him, which I always believe defensively, you show them a call that they know they're going to be a featured guy. They get an opportunity to make a play, but on the same side, show them a play that they're going to have to play better than everybody else, because we'll want to do something that creates stress for them. And I could literally see him processing it very quickly. I remember going our last game of the year. We had done very well during the course of the season. If we won our last game of the year at Iowa, we could have captured another Big Ten title. And I believe he picked off the first two passes, or two of the first three in that game, with some in-game adjustment. He just saw things quicker than normal people. And absolutely, I knew he'd be a great coach down the road. But I think people think he's just this, undersized safety that played because he's really smart. Jimmy's an incredible athlete, sees the game, understands it. There's so many things that made him a great player, which is all the reason to make him a great coach.
And then if I could get one more, just to be clear, you said everybody, does that include Seth Coleman? You expect him to be okay on Saturday?
No, Seth will be. Seth is a guy that hasn't practiced with us yet this week. He's been trending in direction. I apologize. Yeah, Seth is one that I don't believe he'll be there at game time, but there is a chance he might be there, but he hasn't practiced with us yet this week.
All right, thank you, Bret.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, I had a question as far as I know Sydney talked to me last week about how basically Chase took his job as kids as running back. He was supposed to be the running back, and then he got hurt, and then Chase took his job and it never left. So I know you've done a lot with, position changes and things like that. Are you glad that they made that position change ahead of time, way back when?
I could totally see that. Sid, I think, really sees the ball very well, sees the field. A lot of the same core concepts you have at a safety position really do make a good running back, and vice versa. I think back in the old school way, they used to have your safety play running back. You used to have your linebacker play fullback. You used to have your DN play tight end. I could totally see why both of those guys could play either position. Both very talented, but I do like where both of them are at right now. I don't think there'll be any position changes in the near future with them.
I read a stat that said Chase Brown had the most single game rushing yards for any running back you've ever coached. So how would you stack him up against some of the other guys you've coached? How does he compare? What kind of back would you say he is specifically?
I know that stat was pointed out to me earlier in the week. We've had a lot of very productive players in my career. I think Chase definitely has some traits that are very similar to some guys I've had in the past, but he's also kind of his own unique skill set. I mean, there's a reason he is named Chase Brown, right? He's his own individual soul. He's got really good, I think always running backs have to fit into three categories, right? They have to have speed, they have to have power, and they have to have vision. And he's really been blessed with all three of those. And then I think that big play that went the distance on Saturday, you realize he does have home run speed. A lot of guys don't have that trait. So he carries his own unique set, but the sad thing is, right, we actually had a penalty that negated about 25 yards of his rushing total, that if that hadn't happened or had not been called, he probably would have had some astronomical numbers. So the good thing about Chase, he's probably actually been more grounded in his preparation this week than ever before. So I think as he gets accolades, his mama did a great job, and she raised an incredible group of kids that are hungrier now that they've had success to be even better in the future.
And then my other one is about kind of what you're going up against on Saturday. What are the challenges that come with facing a formation? Sometimes it's kind of an I formation. They come up with a type of a system or a type of offense that maybe is not as common in college football today, but used to be pretty common in the past.
Yeah, I think every week, for us, right, UTSA had a new set of formations. Virginia had a new set of formations. Purdue had a new set of formations. Wisconsin's got a new set of formations. They just align more in a traditional old school look that they cater to, they recruit to, they play to. But I would say Paul and his staff and Rudy and the offensive coaches really do a nice job of having wrinkles every week, whether it's a guy in motion, a new guy aligned in a new position, a guy lined up just like he has in other positions, but doing different things. They're very creative in the things they do before the snap that gives them good results after the snap.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, I know Jake Ferguson is one of those players that was questionable for Wisconsin this week, but last year he kind of had a field day against the secondary. I think he had 3 touchdowns. I'm wondering, are you preparing for him specifically, even if he's questionable, or are you more preparing for kind of what their offense already does?
Well, no, Jake is a very talented player. I actually had him in youth camp. I've known him since he's a child. Like, he's a very, very tough, very gifted, very intelligent. They use him in ways that are multiple. They use him in the run game and the throw game. If he's in there, it is what it is. I think they kind of have a system they believe in, but they've been, obviously very blessed to have good tight ends and some guys that have done some special things. You obviously want to play people at their strengths and at their best. And, if Jake's in there, that's an indication of that. But whoever shows up, they're going to kind of do what they do. And we have to be able to defend whatever is in there.
And then just in terms of, continuing this progression and momentum for you guys, I know there's a lot of storylines with Wisconsin being your former team, but just as far as, moving up in the Big Ten, what does this week mean for you guys, and how big of an opportunity is this this game?
Gavin, I appreciate the question. And so one of the first team meetings I ever had with this football team, I put up a diagram and showed them that, in the last 5 years, the Big Ten West had been won by basically Wisconsin and Northwestern five years. And I put that up there because if we wanted to get to where we want to be, if we want to sustain success and be in the competition of a Big Ten West title and get to play in a championship game and hopefully eventually be in a position to talk about college football playoffs, this is a team that has done it year in and year out. And I kind of brought that to their point several times during the spring, showed the same graphic again in the fall, showed it before the fall camp started. And I never said this to them until this week. And I brought it to their attention. And I knew that these questions were going to come this week, right? I knew because of my past, I was going to get the, hey, Bret question, my relationship to coaches and players. I made it very clear to my players on Sunday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday, and again today, the reason I showed that information, the reason I talked about Wisconsin is because that's a part of my past that everybody's going to draw to, but this game is about our future, right? This game has nothing to do about Bret Bielema's past. This game has everything to do about the Illinois future, right? The future of what we're trying to do here and build. And that has been a point of emphasis to my players. And hopefully it's going to be something they resonate with on Saturday.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, you were able to convince Owen Carney to come back in part because of your development previously at that position. How has Owen developed this season? Because it seems like he is kind of taken a leap here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Jeremy, he's again, I obviously didn't know OC before I got here. Started calling him right away when I got the job. He was in the transfer portal and just kind of got to know each other a little bit. We had some mutual acquaintances that knew one another. It was all via phone, maybe a couple, we might have had a FaceTime in there or a Zoom, but mainly phone conversations repeatedly several times in a week. And one thing I said to him, I said, hey, I want to help you, right? Like not just as your head coach, but I've coached outside backers. I know this, I know what you want to do. And so we literally would, talk, meet, discuss. I was very poignant to him about things I saw from his game that needed to improve. He had an idea of what he was and who he was, but I told him just keep being the best you. Let's work on you being the best you. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Let's try to be Owen Carney, the best Owen Carney you can be. And I think over the last 3 to 4 weeks, that's really matured. And I hopefully even this week can continue to see growth and development in his play and hopefully get him to go to a higher level.
You guys have used him, on the D line as a stand-up edge rusher. Like, what does he give you right now? And what do you think he can show the NFL? Like, what do you think he's shown them so far?
Jeremy, one of the great things you can bring to an NFL ball club or to a franchise or to an organization is the ability to play multiple roles. And it's exactly what I thought I saw when I first was around OC on film. Then I was with him during the winter, and I could see he brings multiple value. He can be a 4-3 defensive end. He can be a 3-4 outside linebacker. He can be a 4-3 interior pass rusher. He could be a guy that's involved in special teams for big core athletes. So he would walk into an organization to bring multiple positions of value, which is really intriguing for NFL teams.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Coach, I got a couple questions still about the Charlotte game. One, I'm going to read into what you just said in the Chase Brown answer. That final penalty that took those yards off, that blindside block penalty, and this was where Daniel Barker was like running side by side with a guy. I know you can't speak to the officiating, but I'm just curious your thoughts on the emphasis of calling that play. Seems to be everywhere in college football now. Seems to be confusing of what's a blindside block and what's not. How do you teach that?
Yeah, Robert, great question. That's got to be a huge teaching moment for us. Obviously, DJ didn't do it on purpose and out of spite. He was just trying to gain extra yards for his buddy, right? And the big thing that we have to avoid is he was ahead of the ball coming back towards a defender, and he lowered his shoulder, and that defender didn't see him, which created the blindside block. So it's a great teaching moment. Unfortunately, a lot of times teaching moments are painful, right? So what we have to do is he could actually turn and block, right? High wall the guy so that he can't get to the ball carrier by screening him, or if he can get in position and turn and block him face to face, now we got a legal block. As much as people may not like it, don't like it, I asked for clarification from the league. They were awesome about defining it for me. So it's actually a point of emphasis with our guys. As we get better, we're going to have more long runs offensively, and it's going to set up, to your point, Robert, it's going to set up that exact scenario multiple times now as we move forward, and we got to know how to handle that moment. And it sounds silly, right? But we haven't had a lot of long runs for that to pop up into. So it's it's a positive, negative, positive, but that's where we're headed.
And my other question is about the possessions in the game. So there were 17 possessions in the Charlotte game. That's second lowest in all of college football this year. One game was 16, none others was 17, and several with 18. So, is that a blueprint? Is that a keep the ball and the other offense can't get it? Is that an emphasis, or is that just kind of happenstance of how the game went about?
So to start the game, we started with a 16 play drive, right? Like that's just not a very common thing in today's world. I think there was a huge emphasis. I talked to our coaches during the course of the week to get points on the board in the first quarter, and they, obviously executed that drive. Would have loved for it to end with a touchdown rather than a field goal, but we did advance it for 16 plays. And then the last drive of the game, or the last drive of the game in the fourth quarter, was a 13-play drive that killed the clock, right? They never got the ball back. And I think for us, that's two very, very key elements to our program. We're going to go tempo. We're not going to, huddle at times. We're going to spread the ball around and do some things. But I think at times when you got to establish who you are and what you want to be, that's kind of where we'd be as a byproduct of that. I would say, the first drive that went 16 plays, there were 4 third-down conversions. One of them BP with his legs, and then 2 of them with his feet. Or with his arm. So there's a lot of positives, but I think that is hopefully a little bit of an indicator on our recipe to how to win games. Can I ask you a question, Robert? That is a great backdrop you have there. You look like you're in a smoking room somewhere in Indy.
I'm at Big Ten Media Days, so I'm in the back corner.
Kofi
was just in front of me here, so I was going to drag him over here and say, "Hey, Kofi, ask Coach your question," but he's gone now, so
good deal.
We can't do the crossover.
Anybody else good?
Thanks, Bret.
One quick one. I saw your daughters were painting pumpkins for homecoming. So how did they enjoy the homecoming festivities, their first one at Illinois?
Well, Cassie Arner had talked to me about that event where they dyed the water fountain orange, and Josh had spoke to me about it. Josh, obviously with his history here, is tied into the homecoming festivities. And when they asked me to come, I said, absolutely. And I asked my wife, I go, do you want to bring the girls? And so we went. It took my oldest about 2.2 seconds to realize there was a pumpkin painting competition over there in the far corner. So she quickly found her way over there, and we decorated 2 pumpkins, had a quick hello, and then the rain jumped in and dampened the spirits. But it was a great week a great way to start homecoming weekend. And they got full advantage of that.
Thanks, Coach. I was a little
Thank you.
jealous. I won't lie.
All good.